How powerful is Hiei? In this video, I will be going over Hiei feats throughout the manga and anime. In an old video I made of Yusuke versus Hiei, some people were telling me that Yusuke would mid-diff Hiei and that the fight would not be very close. I disagree with this statement, and I'll explain why Hiei is a lot stronger than you think. In the beginning of Yu Yu Hakusho, we are already dealing with a very nerfed Hiei. Hiei was originally an A-class demon, but he implanted the evil eye to look for his half-sister, which tanked his power level from a class to D-class. When he first encountered Yusuke, Hiei was losing the fight in the beginning. However, when he transformed, the fight turned in his favor. The fight almost became completely one-sided until Kurama interfered and blindsided Hiei. The reason I bring this point up is because people usually say Heiei's transformation was so useless, he never used it again. However, that's far from the case. This fight clearly showed Heiei's transformation working in his favor. He had Yusuke down and was about to deal the finishing blow until he was Kurama joined in. Hiei wasn't expecting anyone to jump in the middle of the fight, especially not Kurama, which caught him completely off guard. Thanks to Kurama's interference and the mirror being directly behind Hiei, Yusuke managed to pull off a win thanks to help and luck. The other reason Hiei doesn't use the transformation anymore was because he was never meant to be a main character. Hiei was meant to be a one-off villain and never seen again, but because he was so popular in the fan base, the author decided to keep Hiei and make him less buff and more slim, and he couldn't keep drawing all those eyes again and again. Now on to the Saint Beast. Hiei appears once again in the Saint Beast arc, and he faces an ice apparition. This is where the difference comes in between the anime and manga. In the manga, Hiei one-shots his opponent with no difficulty, while in the anime, the fight drags out for dramatic effects, going as far as to make Hiei get hit, which never really happens. Hiei sliced his opponent 16 times, while Yusuke only managed to see 8 of Heiei's slices. The same Yusuke who blocks Suzaku enhanced demon energy lighting strikes at point-blank range. This shows the difference in speed between Hiei and Yusuke, while Yusuke even questions if he can even beat Hiei at this point. I also like to bring up this statement between Hiei and Kurama. During Kurama's fight, Hiei mentions he'd rather be on Kurama's side to avoid fighting Kurama himself. This statement makes a lot of people question or even believe Kurama is stronger than Hiei. However, that was never the case. Hiei only doesn't want to go up against Kurama because of how violent and vicious Kurama can get. Hiei even says that he can still take Kurama on. He never says anything about being weaker than Kurama, he just knows Kurama is a difficult opponent to beat. Some people also use the first fight between Kurama and Hiei to say that Kurama is stronger, but they tend to forget Hiei was already wounded before the fight, so he wasn't able to go all out. Not to mention Hiei was still able to keep up and match Kurama blow for blow while still being injured. Hiei passed out because of his injury, not because of anything Kurama did. Next is the Dark Tournament, and I'll skip to the later parts of it. Each character of the main 4 gets their own power-ups and transformations. Toguro, who used 80% of his power to get rid of Genkai, used a powerful punch that created a huge crater in the ground. Hiei uses his most powerful punch to compare the two and sees he is nowhere near Toguro's level. However, Hiei uses the last few days to train, and when Hiei fought against his opponent, it became one-sided, especially when he absorbed the dragon to gain a massive increase in power and durability. This will be relevant later on. On to the fight with Yusuke and Toguro. Before the fight even began, Hiei told Yusuke he planned to fight Toguro, but because he took out Genkai, he allowed Yusuke to fight him. The same Toguro who made a crater so big at 80% that Hiei couldn't even match it, Hiei was ready to take him on. Even though Hiei probably had no idea Toguro was not at full power when that happened, he believed he was ready to fight him. This gives me the implication that although we all know Hiei couldn't beat Toguro 100%, Hiei could match Toguro at 80%. Especially since we see Toguro casually wiping out people with the shakes of his fist at 80%, and Hiei still says he should have taken the fight from Yusuke. So during this portion of the story, it's safe to say Hiei and Yusuke are evenly matched until Yusuke shakes off his spirit cuffs. After Yusuke takes off his spirit cuffs and gets another power-up from seeing what happened to Kuwabara, Yusuke is far stronger than Hiei. The power gap between Yusuke and Hiei remains the same throughout the chapter Black Arc. Since Hiei and Kurama jumped from B class to A class after seeing Yusuke get defeated by Sensui, but Yusuke gets a power-up after being revived, and another huge power-up after Raisin takes over. The Three Kings arc is where my point of Hiei being around the same level as Yusuke comes into play. Hiei during this time was fighting 500 A-class demons and defeated them all. He jumped from A-class to an upper S-class, the highest class a demon can go. Same for Yusuke, who also became an upper S-class. After Yusuke's father is gone, Yusuke goes to Yomi and proposes a tournament. Hiei, while being there, was asked by Mukuro if he would fight Yusuke, as Hiei stated him and Yusuke are equals. Yes, the same Yusuke he saw beat Sensui to a pulp. The same Yusuke he saw with a massive jump in power after being revived. Hiei says he is now equal to him. He has no reason to lie or bluff. He never had before. When Sensui first showed a glimpse of his sacred energy, Hiei says they had no chance against him, showing he isn't afraid to say when someone is stronger than he is. Now for the tournament, Hiei versus Mukuro wasn't a real fight to see who was stronger. It was a battle of emotion. Hiei was fighting to break the cuffs off her wrists, to show her freedom, not to beat her, not saying he would have won, but he definitely wasn't giving it his all to destroy his opponent. In the anime, Hiei was a bit evenly matched with Mukuro. However, when it comes to speed, Hiei was able to dodge all of her third-dimensional space attacks, making Hiei massively faster than light or even higher.
She's able to divide space. Oh. Mukuro can cut directly through the entire third dimension itself. Anyone who comes in contact with the cuts will be split as well.
Now for Yusuke, in the anime, Yusuke said that fighting Yomi wouldn't go well for him since his power is closer that of Yomi's child. However, throughout the course of the fight, Yusuke got a power-up that is relative to Sensui's sacred energy. Some people make a debate saying Hiei's shocked reaction from Yusuke's power-up should mean Yusuke would win no diff. But if we go by that logic, it's like saying Dark Tournament Hiei should beat Dark Tournament Yusuke because Yusuke was surprised by Hiei's power-up. Just because a character is shocked doesn't mean they can't win. It only shows they had no idea the other person was capable of that. Hiei was shocked by Yusuke's spirit gun, but that didn't stop him from dodging it at point-blank range. If it wasn't for the mirror, that spirit gun would have been useless. However, in the manga, we never see this transformation, since the whole fight is skipped, so for all we know, this sacred energy happened. All we know that is a fact is the fight with Yusuke and Yomi went on for 60 hours straight. This is where the difference in power comes in. While Hiei is still faster than Yusuke, Yusuke still has power, strength, and durability and stamina over Hiei. But Hiei can still match Yusuke and even outmatch him when it comes to speed, skills, techniques, and his versatility. Not to mention Hiei can use the dragon to absorb and give him more power, as he did with Bui and Sensui. He can also transform on top of that to even out the fight more. Now, all of this isn't to say that Hiei would beat Yusuke, but the battle would definitely be a close fight to where it can go either way. Saying that Yusuke would know diff or mid-diff Hiei is just false.